Hey everybody, this is Beast. Welcome back to my channel. Ever wondered how a concert is set up? How do they create the song selection or the lineup? Is this the artist's choice? What about the tour name? What about all the things that could show up on stage? What about the blow-up balloons? What about the setting? How is all that put together? Well, I'm going to let you know in this video because during the course of my rigging career and working with the concerts, I did have a chance to work behind the scenes and the creation of the stage, creation of the concert. It's concerts like Iron Maiden, Twisted Sister, Michael Jackson, Madonna, Brooks and Dunn, and Dolly Parton all party in a similar format. The reason is simple. I was just writing down my intro so I'd be able to redo my intro just for my TikToks and so forth. So the format is similar. I mean, you have your setup, you have your setup, the presentation, closing, and get the heck out of town. Pretty much that kind of format. But there's a lot more to it before you actually get ready to go and perform. At the beginning, it's like at a huge airline hangar. It's pretty much where most concert stages start. Now, you have about 4 different style stages. 2 of them have the same name. One is Theater of the Clouds, and the other one's Theater of the Clouds. One fits one way on a... one of them fits one way across an arena. And it'd be the smaller stage. The smaller stage, but you can have a bigger audience. If you're expecting a smaller crowd, you go to the longer stage, which you'll end up at the runway. We always called it the runway because it was actually the longest stretch of stage. I mean, performers that like to run and the performers that like to appease more people on the crowd would probably choose that. You have the third one, which was a weighted stage. A lot of these weighted stages would start off as a Theater of the Clouds style stage. The only thing is that they come with a little bit more, they have more equipment and more gear. A lot of times it'd be like a half a concrete Jersey barrier, which is those pylons that you see on the side of a freeway, or when there's road construction, there's about a half of that. We'll take a forklift and bring it over, and then we'll clamp it down with big bolts on the stage so the stage doesn't move when they have extra exotic parts of the acts that are not natural. And by exotic parts of the acts that are not natural is like a drummer coming out of the stage, a performer coming out of the stage, a performer zip-lining down to the stage. It'd be like Tommy Lee's drum coaster, or any of Tommy Lee's roller coasters that he used for his performance. You have to have the weighted stage. So that is a safety issue. That is just to help protect the players. And then, of course, you've got the grand stage. The grand stage is, in fact, center stage. You're using the entire arena. And a lot of times, you're going to probably have about 3 bands when you're doing a center stage concert. Michael Jackson did center stage a lot. Madonna did center stage a lot. Iron Maiden used it a lot. Guns N' Roses used it a lot. Motley Crue used it a lot. Brooks and Dunn's used it. Dolly Parton's used it. And a lot of these center stages are set. So you have your 3 basic stages. Now you're saying, well, you've seen a lot of things that are more elaborate than others. Well, yeah, you start off with your base, and then you add on. So you start off with your basic, which more than likely, let's say, for example, Ozzy Osbourne and Madonna, in most cases, used about the same style stage. Theater of the Clouds, and it was like about a 2 or 3 tier stage. So you're going to have one more stage on top of that, and then you have another stage, and then you have your stairs. Ozzy used that quite a bit. His organ would normally be up on the second or the third, and his band would be spread out on that. It's very typical for him. He wanted to showcase everybody that was in his band instead of him being in the spotlight and everybody else being in the backlight. It'd be just like Madonna. She walks down the stairs and she has her dancers, and she showcased her performers. And that was the best part about some of these superstars, was they loved to showcase their performers. Michael Jackson, he did, I believe, for his concert. Oh, I can't remember the name of his concert. I've only been to his twice to do troubleshooting and then shoot off to another city. I think when he did Billie Jean, and a lot of that was a Theater of the Clouds style concert, depending on where he went. And it was a rated stage as well, especially with a lot of the pyro and a lot of the special effects could actually rattle the stage. So, we got past the stage part. Now the next part is the song selection. Song selection would be when you're starting off, you have your opening act. Most of the time it's a local band or an act that has been approved by the band to open for them. And then when they come in, they normally start off with something about in between. They hardly ever start off with a hit. They want something in between. In most cases, that's to make sure that their instruments are fine-tuned. They're ready to go, and then they come in with one of their hits. Once they get to one of their hits, then they got to try and bring it back down again. And then they bring another hit up. They probably do maybe 1 or 2 more hits, and then they break for the intermission. The reason for that roller coaster, let me finish the timeline first. Then they come back in, they come about mid or slow. That tells everybody they're back on stage, they're ready to go. And a lot of times people need about 3 or 4 more minutes to get back down on stage so they can watch the rest of the concert. And that's basically a call. It's just like a bugle call. Come back out here. We're coming back out on stage. And it works. And then they go back to one of their hits, and then they bring in other things and maybe a new song or a cover just to be able to finish off. And a lot of times the covers at the end of these were songs that got them going. It was songs that they used to fill in while they were making the new albums. And tribute songs to the bands that allowed them to be able to cover. So, now the main reason for these timelines is because of the instruments. In most cases. The instruments, the sound equipment, the speakers, whatnot. If I did a hit, did every one of Metallica's top songs all in one succession, the entire stage would be on fire. And the reason is because there's so much power and so much heat going into these amps, that's going into these speakers, that's going into, basically going into these amps. That's it. You're going to fry every single one of them. And then, especially with the lighting, a lot of times the lighting needs to cool down. And what better way is to slow the song down. To slow it down a little bit, give things a breather. We can adjust the fans. We can fix what's broken. It's a constant amusement park in the backstage. A slower song can mean that the lead guitarist can be able to grab another guitar, get it ready, get his other guitar off the stage, give them a chance to restring it, and then when he gets ready to break another string, which I know a guitarist that would fill a garbage can full of strings in one concert. And it's basically a NASCAR pit crew in the back. for a lot of these performers. You would have a crew member sitting right behind the drummer, and the drummer uses up enough of his sticks, and he'd make sure those sticks are filled. Or if they're using wireless, if their wireless pack goes bad, they got to get that fixed as soon as possible. Because of the fact that they're onto a slower song, most of the band members don't really back up the singer with their voice. It's mainly the mainly the girls, mainly the backup vocalists. I mean, it's the girls. So that's the reason for the roller coaster. The tour name. A lot of times, the producer will come up with the name for the tour, say, hey, I like this, and if the band says, okay, yeah, that sounds cool, and a lot of times they'll say, no, let's just promote the album. Let's do an album tour. Not a No More Tears tour, no whatever. No, they want to promote the album that they just published. And that's pretty much the way most of it is. That was pretty much how all of the tour names were made. Now, getting back to most of this, then they come up with the tour dates. Once they know what type of stage they're using, once they know their song selection, once they know the tour name, now they come up with the tour dates. And they create the entire calendar. Nothing's confirmed yet. Now they get the band in and say, okay, here's the tour dates. And if, let's say, James Hetfield says, no, my niece's birthday is on that week, I'm out. Okay, they'll cat scratch that. And it'd be like Dee Snider saying, no, Suzette has a fashion show in New York, I'm out. They cat scratch that. Now, they have these openings, but let's say that they were touring with Def Leppard, or they were touring with Iron Maiden, or they were touring with Sammy Hagar, or Quiet Riot, or some of the other bands. So let's say they were traveling with some of the other bands. But all the other bands could be able to they could be able to make that show. Okay? Well, it's Cat Scratch for Twisted Sister. It's going to be turned into a single concert for this other band. And they just keep it going. So now they've got the stage, they've got the song selection, they've got the tour dates, they've got the tour name, they've got the album that's been released. Now they come up with the transportation. 99% of the transportation has always been a tour bus. 80s and 90s. Hardly anybody flew. A lot of rock stars were paranoid about flying. They didn't want to end up like Buddy Holly, and the others. They thought it was cursed. A lot of people thought it was cursed. So they took tour buses. A lot of times they were Fran's bakery buses, bakery trucks. But that was their transportation. So they line that all up, they line their tour dates up. Now we're ready to go. Now we set the stage up. Now we get ready to try and build the stage to the album. They bring in designers. A lot of these set designers are coming right out of Hollywood studios, or they come out of MGM studios, or they come out of Disney studios, and they would come out here and build the stage. Everything that's ready for the stage. Now we go through all the instruments and make sure that the instruments is there. We talk with the performers. We make sure that the performers have all their concert gear. We may make arrangements in multiple cities for same-day dry cleaning. So now comes the big laundry list of everything that needs to be done. Food, dry cleaning, alcohol. Then you end up with your backstage meetups, and just ticket sales, and the list goes on. Now, you end up with all your roadies. So your stage boss, which I'm going to talk about in my video probably tomorrow, your stage boss will start assembling his crew. He goes back to the hangar. He talks with the people that have done it, that have been working with all the other bands. And pretty much all of these have connections with the bands. And the stage boss will say, okay, what do you got? And they'll say, this tour is getting ready to end, this tour is getting ready to end, this tour is getting ready to end, this tour is getting ready to start, this tour is getting ready to end, and this tour is about halfway through and needs some fresh meat. So he goes through and he looks at the list. Now, being a roadie doesn't mean that you have status or clout. And I'll explain that in another video. You'll look, you'll see who he likes, you'll see what kind of experience they have, and what kind of status that they have. He needs some people in there with some kind of status because he's still trying to keep good terms with the band. And you'll learn a little bit about that in the next video. So, pretty much that's behind the scenes of how the concerts pretty much go. A lot of the roadies turn into security. They do security for the event. And once the event is done, they help tear it down, and then that's it. But the life of a roadie is a whole different ballgame. Backstage, we have security making sure that audies isn't running out naked onto the stage with a Coke baggie. Or a Axl Rose coming out onto the stage with a bottle of whiskey. That's happening. So, pretty much the behind the scenes of what happens at a concert. It's pretty much the same format. It doesn't matter what genre of music. And I believe, from what I've seen, it still exists today. They pick their own song. Their song selection is all pre-selected. They go and take a look at it. And they say, okay, that'll work. Or, no, let's flip this. And a lot of times they can be able to say, well, we want these two songs together because it's good enough to be able to flip if we need to fix something, or flip it back, or whatnot. So, sing-alongs, like We Will Rock You, Home Sweet Home from Motley Crue, that sort of thing is great for bands because they don't really have to rely on their instruments. And it gives a good chance for us to try and get these things fixed so that they can keep going. Up above over your head, you have your riggers and the rafters. A lot of times, Theater of the Clouds would not really have people up there in the rafters, but you still do. We still have all of our anchors to keep the stage from falling on top of their heads. We're still up there watching everything to make sure nothing catches on fire. If something catches on fire, we need to get it out. And we need to get that speaker shut down so we can get it cooled so we can fix it in the air. If the lights go out, we need to make sure we pinpoint which light is. We need to get that unplugged, and we need to get heat sinks on it so it can be able to cool down. We can fix the bulb when we get to the intermission. Everything needs to be perfected and keep perfection going to make sure that concert goes as flawless as possible. And it's a really big deal. If you're that one person that's backstage, up in the rafters, down underneath the stage, at any point during that concert, and you're the one that messed up, and the band leader knows you messed up, you're out of there. You're off. You're hitting the road. You're history. And depending on your screw up, it could go back to the production company, and the production company will say, you're not working for us anymore. You're done. You're bye. See you later. And I've known 2 or 3 people that have accidentally screwed up. Somebody else screwed up and they took the hit for it. They got kicked out and they basically got blacklisted from the concerts. And years later, when I was up in Boston, I was living up on the beach, and I noticed one guy, and I talked to him, and I said, dude, didn't you used to be a sound engineer? He said, yeah, I was a sound engineer. He said, so what happened? You trained me. You were one of the best of the best. He said, yeah, I was doing Eddie Van Halen's guitar concert. I put everything together, and the soundboard was going out, and I needed to switch it off on the sound table, on the mixing table, and right smack in the middle of Eddie Van Halen's Eruption, I forgot to put the heat sinks back in, and I basically blew 4 amps, and I blew the entire sound table, which they ended up having a 45-minute intermission. And the thing was, I forgot to check the work from the person that did the soundboard before I put everything back online. So that's pretty much it. That's why it's important to double check what you're doing. And that's why, you know, that's why it's so important that you become the best. But the guy turned out to be a raving alcoholic. He never forgave himself for it. He got himself heavily into drugs. And God rest Dennis's soul. That was it. He was drinking his bottle of vodka in the middle of a blizzard in Boston and froze to death. But like I said, that was behind the scenes of a concert. I'll tell you a little bit more about Dennis when I talk about roadies. But this was a good start to start talking about my life on the road as a roadie, and start talking about some of the bands that I was traveling with, and hopefully you enjoy my stories. So tell me what you think about this video. Drop it in the comment section below. Tell me if I rambled too much, if I left out any, if you felt like I left out any details. Let me know in the comment section below. It'll help me improve my videos in the future. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss another video. And until next time, keep on rocking.